Our focus in this episode is on Accredited Compensatory Afforestation (ACA) eligibility. Trading and transferring ACA agencies can exchange their accredited areas with user agencies. Welcome to Enviro Annotations Productions on YouTube. A warm hello to all our members, subscribers, viewers and listeners. This video is about Accredited Compensatory Afforestation. When we talk about afforestation, the immediate question may be, what is afforestation called? Afforestation is the establishment of forest or stand of trees in an area where there was no recent cover. There are three types of afforestation, and what are those? Natural regeneration, commercial plantations, and agroforestry. Deciding what, how, and where to plant is an important part of the process, as the needs of the local environment and populace need to be considered carefully. What are the government schemes for afforestation? National Afforestation Program (NAP), Compensatory Afforestation (CA), and aerial seeding for reforestation. So, what is the definition of compensatory afforestation? Compensatory afforestation is defined as afforestation done in lieu of the diversion of forest land for non-forestry use under the Forest Conservation Act 1980. Compensatory afforestation is one of the most important requirement, or you can say condition, for prior approval of the central government for diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes, and the purpose of compensatory afforestation is to compensate the loss of land by land and loss of trees by trees. There is also a penal compensatory afforestation, which means afforestation work to be undertaken over and above the compensatory afforestation specified in the guidelines issued under the Forest Conservation Act 1980 in lieu of extent of area over which non-forestry activities have been carried out without obtaining prior approval of the competent authority under the Forest Conservation Act 1980. And now there is Accredited Compensatory Afforestation. Our focus in this episode is on Accredited Compensatory Afforestation. So what is Accredited Compensatory Afforestation, or ACA? In fact, we published an article on Accredited Compensatory Afforestation in our 21st August 2024 print edition. This is a shorter version of this article. On 28th June 2022, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change introduced the Forest Conservation Rules 2022, replacing the 2003 rules. A key change is the introduction of a proactive system for accredited compensatory afforestation, which is also very widely known as ACA. Under the new rules, draft guidelines for ACA were shared with various ministries, states, and integrated regional offices on 15th September 2022. After a review period, these guidelines were discussed in an advisory committee which met on 9th December 2022. The final guidelines were then notified by the central government after incorporating the feedbacks. The ACA guidelines set up a centralized system to manage afforestation projects. Initially, these guidelines will be managed offline until an online portal is created. However, I think it is created already, which is the Parives portal 2. This portal will handle submissions, processings, and approvals of ACA proposals, making it easier to manage compensatory afforestation projects. Once the portal is live, all the offline data will be moved online to form a complete database of ACA projects. To be accredited, an afforestation project must meet specific criteria. The designated land must be free from encumbrances and not fall under the Forest Conservation Act 1980. Eligible lands include non-forest areas such as mined out lands, owned by the state or central public sector undertakings. The land must be fenced and protected, cover at least 10 hectares, and have a canopy density of at least 0.4. Projects must use indigenous species and take place on land with a canopy density of at least 0.4, that is, at least 5 years old. Projects not meeting these criteria are not eligible for ACA. States and union territories must publish model afforestation schemes suited to their agroclimatic zones. Applicants must apply online with detailed maps and records. The local forest department will review applications to ensure they meet the necessary criteria. Approved agencies can then carry out afforestation projects according to the approved schemes. After 5 years, projects are assessed for success to determine their ACA eligibility. The guidelines allow for trading and transferring ACA credits. This is very important. Agencies can exchange their accredited areas with user agencies needing forest land for non-forest purposes. ACAs can also be deregistered if not yet linked to any projects. What are the benefits of the ACA scheme? The ACA scheme encourages proactive afforestation by allowing projects to be approved in advance under the Forest Conservation Act. This reduces delays related to funding and bureaucracy and supports ecosystem services investment in forest sector and national forest policy goals. It also boosts carbon sequestration, contributing to climate action. After publishing the newspaper article, there are several questions on our WhatsApp. 1. Did Supreme Court of India order the creation of Compensatory Afforestation Fund? Answer is yes. On 29th October 2002, the Supreme Court of India directed that a Compensatory Afforestation Fund was to be created, in which all the money received from the user agencies towards compensatory afforestation, additional compensatory afforestation, penal compensatory afforestation, net present value NPV of forest land, catchment area treatment plan funds, etc. were to be deposited. Another question received on WhatsApp is about NCAC. On 13th August 2009, the National CAMPA Advisory Council NCAC was constituted. The next question is whether the Compensatory Afforestation Fund Bill was passed in 2008. Well, the Ministry of Environment and Forests introduced the Compensatory Afforestation Fund Bill 2008 in the Parliament. The bill was passed in the Lok Sabha but couldn't come up for voting in Rajya Sabha and lapsed with the dissolution of the Lok Sabha in May 2009. Another question we have taken is what type of land can be used for compensatory afforestation? As far as possible, the non-forest land, degraded lands for compensatory afforestation should be identified contiguous to or in the proximity of the reserved forest or protected forest to enable the forest department to effectively manage the newly planted area. Another question is, which ministry regulates Campa Fund? It's the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Then which act is under Campa? The Compensatory Afforestation Fund Act 2016, CAF Act. Well, there can be many more questions, maybe like what are the problems with compensatory afforestation. Anyway, we can probably take up all such type of questions one by one in future episodes. Finally, I am sharing a link to the ACA guidelines in the description. So that's all in this video. Please post your comments and feedback. Before concluding, I want to remind you to get a paid subscription to enviroannotations.com for exclusive updates. The link is in the description. You can also consider for availing a membership to Enviro Annotations. Any financial support you wish to extend can be sent to UPI ID 93133850043 at Kotak. Until we bring you another video, please take care of yourself, your loved ones, and your environment. Thank you.